Testing.
Okay, very good.
Good evening. The time being 7 o'clock, I'd like to call the regular scheduled council meeting of August 12th, 2024 to town for the town of Copper Canyon. If you'd all please stand, face the flag, and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay, next item of business. Sheila, I believe you have the honors of swearing in some new officers. Chief, you got your officers? We have, I'll let you, Officer Richard Jewett, who will be full-time. And, I'm sorry? Jay Rosenthal, who is a reserve officer, correct?
Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office Copper Canyon Police Officer of the state of Texas and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of the state, so help me God. Okay, raise your hand. I, Richard Jewett, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of Copper Canyon Police Officer of the state of Texas and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of the state, so help me God.
Welcome. So that makes us fully staffed. We are at 3 full-time officers and 1 reserve officer. So before we were getting 8 hours of coverage, 5 days a week. Now I might have to ask Chief what we're at now, but could we consider it 16 hours coverage, 6 days a week, or in general? So.
Chris just getting married yesterday.
Okay.
We don't have him in the system yet, but that's a dead count.
Okay.
We cut him was pretty serious. So we'll have at least, usually Monday through Friday, we'll have about 16 hours of coverage.
Okay.
A little overlap, and then we'll have at least 8 hours on the weekend each day. My hope is to have at least an officer on duty 7 days.
Every day, 7 days a week. Okay.
Won't quite have 24-hour coverage on the weekend.
All right. Sounds great, Chief. Thank you. All right. Next item of business is public input. Anyone may speak at this time on an agenda or non-agenda item for a period of 3 minutes. Mitch Stormich.
There we go. Mitch Dornick, 980 Crepe Myrtle Lane. I wanted to, the topic that I wanted to ask you about tonight or bring up tonight was the Safe Built contract. So first of all, I applaud the town and the council for working on this and getting this code enforcement issue addressed as quickly as possible. One thing I saw in the contract that I wasn't quite clear on, and I'm going to ask you to elaborate a little on a couple other topics when you get to that discussion point. The termination section, section 6, reads termination for this agreement upon 90 written out, but then in parentheses 30 days. So if you can clarify which that is, make sure it trues up. But I think, again, just not for necessarily right now, but when you get to this discussion, if you can help us all understand what, I think this is primarily around code enforcement. If you can help us understand what is the current, like, is this a new service or is this replacing services another entity was performing? Did we not have any code enforcement before, sort of relative to that? And how this would be approached? Because I see there's a list of services that they can provide, but it's unclear which services the city is going to ask them to provide. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, correct. We'll be doing that for sure. Anybody else like to speak on an agenda or non-agenda item? Okay. Next item is Mayor Staff Report. I do have a statement I'd like to read tonight, if you'd bear with me. We, as your town council and mayor, acknowledge and embrace feedback from the residents of Copper Canyon, our neighbors. Recently, some have voiced specific concerns privately and in public forum, and we hear you. I'd like to share some perspective on how we've arrived here today, the root cause of the issues we've identified, the specific action we've taken to remedy these issues, and the process we've established to mitigate these issues in the future. Copper Canyon has, is, and will continue to attract growth, which will result in pressure to develop suburban housing that is less dense than normal for our town. These developments have potential to disturb our rural fabric that makes this town special. I share my passion and echo these statements. Many residents have expressed resisting dense residential development. As mayor and personally, I am committed to preserving the rural equestrian nature of Copper Canyon. Equally, I acknowledge the right of landowners and recognize that our code of ordinances must reflect and desire the residents, be effective and diligently enforced. Therefore, our master plan and design review checklist, DRC, we have been and are careful to encourage this type of residential development along corridors that frame the town on major transportation routes. Vickery, Williams are two examples. However, market economics forces are driving some Copper Canyon landowners and outside developers to seek higher density development in Copper Canyon, in interior portions of our town. These forces are likely to continue and become more enticing to landowners and developers. The maturity and sophistication of our town ordinances and development processes have not advanced at the same rate as the market forces. I mentioned again, we hear you and we are committed to closing these gaps quickly. Our agendas tonight include two requests for the council's consideration. First is to appoint a consultant to work with the development committee to ensure compliance with state, federal, and local laws and close the gaps in the loopholes. The other request for the council is to consider to move forward with a part-time position of a town development director. This is an 8-hour-a-week position. This is a new role being established to mitigate limitations from current workload and bolster experience. We are currently engaged with Mr. Harlan Jefferson to provide an overall assessment of the following town function. Mr. Jefferson was a former city manager of Flower Mound, Prosper. He's been in this industry for over 40 years. He's going to look at financial, operational efficiency, service delivery, infrastructure and asset management, and development and regulatory. His focus will be on operational efficiencies. He will work hand in hand with Troy, as we believe Mr. Jefferson's experience will be invaluable as we move forward during the town's growth and increase in residential development. We have other plans beyond these two items. As we welcome new members to the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Board of Adjustments, and the council, we will require them to take minimum courses available through the Texas Municipal League, TML, and the North Texas Council of Government, COG. The town will pay for the associated fees, and we will also have quarterly workshops with Planning and Zoning Commission and council to ensure ongoing education development. We will put this on our regular quarterly schedule from now on, Troy, that we have quarterly workshop of some form. 4 years ago, I proposed hiring a part-time code enforcement officer. Residents of Copper Canyon didn't feel the time was right then. Certain issues, including unlawful buildings, make it clear that Copper Canyon requires this resource to ensure residents and developers adhere to the town ordinances. Staff will work closely with the contact officer to ensure they deliver the level of services and enforcement to suit our town. Therefore, the council intends on hiring a part-time code enforcement officer. Again, this is an 8-hour-a-week position. We're not hiring someone full-time. This will be closely monitored. Earlier this year, I discussed an objective to reduce our taxes by 2 cents. The changes I have mentioned tonight weaken that opportunity. Councilmember Hill, Mayor Pro Tem, has helped to model a 1 cent reduction that both provides a tax relief and enables investment to address development issues. Our development ordinances, policies, and procedures will undergo significant changes over the next 6 to 12 months. We ask your trust, your patience, and your involvement as we work through these challenges. It's the town council, mayor, and staff to seek what is best for all concerned without personal agenda or bias. Thank you. One more thing I would like to address that has seemed to brought a lot of heartache is illegal buildings. And there's a lot of things being said out there and things that we're not able to do. And I kind of want to lay out what happened and where we are without putting the town in jeopardy. In the spring of 2023, a resident came into this office and met with staff, and they wanted the criteria to put a church in. And we laid it all out for them. We told them what they would have to do, would have to go through the process, what they were limited to do. It was just a commercial use, basically. And they knew all the rules. They walked out of these doors to never be seen again, but continued moving forward with their project until we found out about it when it was too late. There's some that want this building torn down. I don't know that I disagree with them. It was for a church. It doesn't seem very Christian to me to go against what it's still tied up in the courts. Force them to do so much. We are requiring them to x-ray the slab to be sure that the foundation has the proper rebar, et cetera, in it. Those are all the things we can require them to do, but we can't require them to tear down their building without putting the town in legal jeopardy. It would go on forever. So we feel the pain of the town. It's kind of like this one little thing blew up and made a lot of people upset, and we understand that. And then on top of that, someone else builds an illegal barn about the same time. The code enforcement thing is something we need, but I could count on one hand how many code enforcement violations that have happened in the last year and a half. 2 buildings, a tall grass, and somebody living in a fifth wheel. And that's it. So we need something but we have to be diligent in what we do also and don't over-regulate our citizens. So with that, I'm going to close my part and I will go to council. Any other comments, council? If not, I'll go to staff report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So just some quick updates I'm going to highlight. Our police building next door will get their CO tomorrow. We had some issues with the sink and they finally got that up and running. So we're looking to have that and they're going to move into the building this week. So all the furniture is currently in there, phones, AC, all those things are working. So we just had to wait for a couple of things. So we'll get those guys moved into the building this week. The other thing I wanted to make sure that everybody realized that it's this time of year where we start accepting applications for all of our boards and commissions, and those will be due to the town secretary on 9/13, and you can find those applications on our website. If you go to the How Do I Do This link or page, and then it'll ask for volunteers, and you can click on that and the application can be found there. And we also been in touching base with TxDOT as it relates to the light at Vickery and 407. So that's still on track, and they're looking to have that installed early to late spring of next year. And we've also been working with Denton County as it relates to the Estate Bridge project. You should be getting it, or we should be getting an interlocal agreement with them for our portion of that bridge, and they're looking to start that this upcoming winter is when they're looking to kick that off. But those are a couple updates that I had. Any questions?
No, thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Chief, you got any statement? You good? If you do, yeah, please come on.
Nothing major has changed. For the month, these statistics are for the month of July. We had 32 calls for service, about 56 citations, 50 warnings, and our citations were issued. Again, it's just primarily Chris and myself that are issuing citations, so we're not out there hammering folks unless they absolutely need it. There haven't been any criminal cases open. There have been an arrest that Denton County did quite recently, that was actually this month, related to narcotics use, unfortunately. Officer Jewett, he began his first full-time day on August 1st, so we're currently onboarding and trying to bring on duty. We have statistics, the first file for June from when we went live, taking calls, that's been filed with the state, and we're still trying to work the crash record, so unfortunately, if we had a crash between now and before we get the system up to the TxDOT, it's going to have to be DPS that works for that. We will respond and assist, but I can't physically access the online program yet. Even though it's a process I started in January, TxDOT hasn't got us ported into the system yet. In June 1st, we were supposed to sit down and do the online training so we could use the system. TxDOT guys called and said, our bad, we don't have the system yet. So, and we've been playing from that. So that's where we're at right now. It's still, I was hoping to have these issues done, but it's not a big process. But just guys, remember if it's after hours or if you call up here and nobody answers, call Denton County non-emergency line. It's emergency 911 anytime. That'll get it on. Sure, we'll figure out the so, if you have anything, report after hours. Denton County is still answering phones and dispatch for. So they're going to be the first contacts.
Thank you, Chief. The fire department's not here. Chris, you don't have anything special? Okay, other than agenda items, okay. Next item is consent agenda. Any item on the consent agenda may be removed by any member of council for individual discussion or consideration. Council, you have 3 different agenda items. Is there any discussion or anything to be removed? If there's not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as stated.
I have a motion by the Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Councilmember Liebert. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. The motion carries. First action item tonight is discussion and consider taking action regarding a resolution 24-11 acknowledging the resignation of Councilmember Larry Johnson as a member of Place 2 council member and declaring the vacancy of the council member Place 2. Is there a motion, council, to accept the resignation? I have a motion by Councilmember Andrews, second.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Liebert. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, motion carries. Next item is number 2. Mayor Robertson presents the preliminary budget for 2024, 2025. However, I'm going to let Troy and Steve do that because they work so very diligently on that. Troy?
All right, thank you, Mayor. And Steve, just jump in at any time. One of the things we did a little differently this year is we created an overview summary page of the budget. So we looked at all the big budget, or the big bucket funds. So, council, you guys have received this, and I believe there's a copy over at the desk as well. And so for the upcoming budget, the 24-25 budget, the sheet goes from left to right, and it talks all about the general fund. So you have the revenue piece that hits all the big ticket items, the property tax, the sales tax is all lumped together. And that reflects a 26 cents sales tax, which is a reduction of 1 cent from this current year. And then goes through the expenditures. And that, if you look at your expenditures, the law enforcement is the first full year that we'll have as it relates to salaries and all the equipment and those type things as well. And then it kind of gives you a summary of how many operating days and how much excess we had left over. We're projecting to have about $589,815 left over at the end of the 24-25 fiscal year. And then we moved to the right of the sheet, talks about the reserve fund, the debt service, capital projects, crime control, and wastewater. And then I just want to bring to your attention on the left-hand side as it relates to committed funds. This is kind of a proposed list of funds that we may want to consider to start putting aside. And it's about $716,000 and some change. So what this will bring to the town is an opportunity when we have major road failures as our roads get older, or we have a sewer line failure, we'll have cash in the bank to address those issues. So that kind of summarizes everything from those type of repairs. Also includes 1 year of payment debt to go along with that. And again, just kind of creating a security blanket there. Then further down the sheet, it talks about our cash. So those are all of our accounts that have our cash in it as of 7/30. And then, as you guys know, back in January, we invested in Texpool and Logic. And so it gives a summary of what those investments were there to go along with that. And then this page ties into the detail page that you guys have, and it kind of runs in conjunction with all the individual line items and summaries. So, Steve, do you have any other?
I think that was a good review. I mean, long story short, we're trying to make this English, simple English to read and digestible. When you look at what we've done this year from a financial standpoint, we've built parking lots, buildings, we've
Purchased
brought a police force, I mean, a lot's been done with your tax money very responsibly. We have a pretty conservative position on this. We have taken debt out, but it's been relatively minor. And we were servicing that on time, actually ahead of schedule. And, we're virtually debt free. When everything's going the wrong direction, we're trying to take tax in the right direction. So we're reducing taxes to 26 cents. And hopefully that'll be helpful to everybody. I think we're planning plenty of activity for the coming year. We're planning to invest in the town. We're planning to invest in the capabilities that Ron mentioned it earlier, beefing up our ordinances, making sure that we have better processes. We need to get to another step change and evolution of how we govern the town. And so thank you all for your patience, your support. And if you have any questions, we're here for you. But I think this is a really bright picture from a budget standpoint, and I think fiscal management. So,
Perfect.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. That's not an action item. That's just a discussion item. Council, you have any comments? Anybody would like to add? Open. Hearing none, the next item, number 3, is discuss consideration, take an action regarding filing the 2024-2025 town budget with the town secretary. I'd entertain a motion to file the preliminary 2024-2025 budget with the town secretary.
I'll make a motion to file the 2024-2025 town budget. The town secretary.
Have a motion by Councilmember Reed. The most second by the Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor?
aye.
Unanimous, motion carries. Next item is discussion and consider take of accepting and submission of the no new revenue and voter approved tax rate calculation. Take action to consider the proposed tax rate. Mayor Pro Tem, this will be a roll call vote, by the way, gentlemen.
Yep, this basically makes the tax reduction official for the coming year. So I'll make the motion. To accept the submission of the no new revenue and voter approval tax calculations as presented in the packet, and to accept the proposed tax rate of 0.26599 per $100 evaluation for the fiscal year 2024.
I have a motion by the Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second? The second by Councilmember Andrews. This is a roll call vote. Councilmember Liebert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Hill?
Aye.
Councilmember Andrews?
Aye.
Councilmember Gibson? Aye. Unanimous, the motion carries. Next item is discussion and consider taking action regarding ordinance changes 24-002 by amending the Code of Ordinances by repealing Chapter 10 of the Subdivision Regulation, Chapter 10A of the Subdivision Ordinance in its entirety and replacing it with a new Chapter 10 Subdivision Regulation. Council, this is the Development Committee and Town Attorney has reviewed the documents, and I believe Dunaway Group has actually worked on this a little bit at the last meeting, with the focus to ensuring compliance with state, federal, local laws, as well as addressing the gaps and closing the potential loopholes. The key changes include removal of the development plan and concept plan requirement, aligning the document more closely with the zoning ordinance. And if you look at there was one change that came through on this, and it had to do with, you have a copy of it in front of you, highlighted area on the front. It says it was added to provide for penalties or of fines not to exceed the sum of $2,000 and provide for said ordinance. And I believe, Councilmember Gibson, you had one verbiage change in this?
There was a few. I love them.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
so
Okay.
Mayor, on page 21, section 10.03, section G,
Okay,
there was a statement in there that said the approved development plan. We need to scratch that out.
okay.
And so if we can approve it with that correction, that would be great.
That's the only one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, council, this is the step one of redoing all of our zoning ordinances, et cetera, to get everything in compliance. That this is only the beginning. That this plugs some gaps that we had that needed to be plugged right away. And because we will be threatened with development before this is all said and done. So, comments?
What was that change you said?
Councilmember Lieber, that was on page 21.
21.
It was under section G in number 1.
Mm-hmm.
It says approved development plan, that needs to
Yeah,
come
scratch
out. Yeah, scratch approved the development plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Studies and plans, stays where it's at.
Okay. Any other state comments, council? Mitch, I thank you and the committee for working on this and bringing it, getting it so quickly to us. I know you put some time into it. You too, Chase, your group, appreciate that. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance number, what's the number on this?
24-002.
24-002, amending the Code of Ordinances by repealing Chapter 10 Subdivision Regulation and Chapter 10A Subdivision Ordinance in its entirety and replacing it with a new Chapter 10 Subdivision Regulation, providing for a savings clause, severability, and a repeal clause, providing a penalty of a fine not to exceed the sum of $2,000 and providing for said ordinance to take effect from and after its passage.
Got a motion by the Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second?
Oh, second.
Second by Councilmember Lieber. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous motion carries. Item number 6 is discussion and consideration taking action regarding a contract for professional planning consultant services between the town of Copper Canyon and Dunaway and Associates LLC. This is kind of a 2 or 3 stage
Yes.
event, I
Correct.
believe. So originally, the review the town ordinance to ensure the town ordinance comply with state and federal laws and address the gaps and loopholes, update the development process, review the dates and development process for better accommodation of growth in residential development. And then there's phase 2, which will be a phase that will focus on reviewing ordinances, changes related to, but not limited to development, building standards, engineering, drainage, tree preservation, signage, and other relevant aspects, because we're going to be challenged if we do get commercial on 407, then you got signage issues. You got a lot of things that will come along with that. And we need to be sure. And then so many people have talked about tree preservation and what do we have and how do we enforce it? And so Troy, you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, Mayor, there's just a lot more to come. I mean, we've been in, I think Copper Canyon's been in a kind of a slow growth phase, but I think over the last 2 years, it's picked up quite a bit, and now we're catching up with our ordinances. So I think by bringing Dunaway on and the development team, it will allow us to bring everything up to where we need to as far as it relates to our first goal was to get the subdivision ordinance up to state regulations, and that's what is on the agenda tonight. And then the next phase is to kind of dive into the engineering and the building standards and all those things. And Dunaway is going to give us assistance with that. They work with a lot of small towns and kind of walk them through similar processes. So we're excited to have them on board.
So will they work with Chris? Will they work with you on, because we haven't updated that since 2007, I believe.
That's correct.
Yeah. So they'll work with you on the engineering side.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Any questions, council, of the consultant? Okay, this is probably a long time coming and well needed. Yeah.
And also, Mayor, just so everybody knows out in the audience, this contract is about 30 grand for this first phase.
Right.
If you look in our next fiscal year budget, we have about 100 grand in there to kind of accommodate the next phase and the phase after that. So, so it's coming.
Okay.
Yeah, the point of that, Troy, is that we're looking at the entire year of work, not just this particular engagement.
That's correct.
Okay. That being said, I'd entertain a motion to approve Dunaway Associates LLC.
Make a motion, we just approve the Dunaway Associates LLC contract as presented.
I have a motion by the Mayor Pro Tem, a second. Second, Councilmember Andrews. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, motion carries. Next item is discussion consideration regarding an interim agreement for legal services of Boyle Lowry LLP. This is a new law firm, council, that we're looking at. In a short term that we had, we didn't want to overcommit the town. However, I did request that we put him on an interim basis, and then allow for council, members of council, if they would to interview them legally, however we can do it without creating a quorum.
Yep.
And set something up to who would like to do that. The whole council, are we thinking, or?
Just a couple of members of the council. So yeah, so we're making those arrangements.
Councilmember Gibson, would you be a part of that? Councilmember Andrews, would you be a part of that? Sure. And then I would also be sit in on that. Okay. So let's do that. Okay. He will be on an interim basis, and then we will see. We want to be sure we have chemistry, correct? And that's what we want to be sure. They were not able to be here. They had an executive. So they had another council meeting. They could not get us in their system till September. Yeah. So
that's correct, Mayor. So normally this date was open for them, but they had an ongoing engagement that he needed to be at, and it was a one-time deal. So it just happened to conflict with the short notice we gave him last week. So yeah.
And we're going to be talking to the people that are going to actually be in town, not just the firm.
Yes,
so
yes,
there's
correct.
Multiple partners in this firm.
That's correct.
Yeah, we'll be talking to the person that is the primary for our account.
Yeah.
Correct.
Good. Okay. Entertain a motion to approve legal services.
Make a motion to approve the legal services with Bowell and Lowry.
I have a motion by Councilmember Liebert. Is there a second?
A second.
I have a second by the Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, motion carries. Next item is discussion and consider taking action regarding professional services and agreement with the town of Copper Canyon and Safe Built for code enforcement services. There's more to that than this. Troy, I'm going to let you kind of explain your discussion with them and what we've discussed.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So this contract, Mitch, to your point, it's a 30-day termination, not a 90. That was the correction that should have been made. It was originally 90, and we lowered it to 30. as far as what we're looking to do and what the contract's going to cover, it's code enforcement. And so we're looking for somebody with a lot of experience who deals with code enforcement on a regular basis and have for years. And so give us some insight on kind of developing that process, but we needed them here due to the recent cases and because there's a lot of legal things that come along with code enforcement, and we want to make sure we fall in line with those. And so we felt by bringing Safe Build online they could provide that level of service for us. This is not we meet with them. We're going to meet with them on a weekly basis. I've got a meeting scheduled with them this week. This is not somebody who's going to run around town and just start handing out tickets. They will follow our guidance. So say, for example, somebody has tall grass, they're going to make a phone call and say, hey, can you get your grass mowed in the next couple of days? If it lingers and lingers, then they go to the next step and then they write them a citation and a letter letting them know that they're in violation of certain codes. So it's not going to be a fast and furious, I'm going to write up everybody in town for every little thing that potentially could be there. That's not the purpose of this at all. With their experience, we feel like they can identify issues or gaps that we currently have. And then as we progress through this contract, and we may end up not using them in the long term, but that's the expectation and what we're going to set moving forward with this.
We originally have discussed the fact that we're going to have them work 1 day a week.
Yep.
Is our agreement, which would be, but we have, Troy and I have also spoke that probably will soon go to 2 days a month. So so this isn't one of those deals that, we don't want to write a ticket for somebody's old tractor in the front yard. That's not the intention here. But we do have some violations. They are going to do our permit planning, our permit services
Yes.
also. When we took permitting on in-house, it was when we were knocking out 60 and 70 permits a month with Toll Brothers. And now we're not doing that anymore. And that doesn't justify the need that we had. So we're actually better spent by outsourcing that and redoing, I guess, the position
Yes.
for someone else that also adding the code enforcement to that. They offer other services. They offer building inspection. We're not asking for that. We have a building inspector. We have no desires for that. They know that.
Yep.
So
Correct.
So I know there's questions, Council.
They're not here to
No.
answer any of the procedural. Obviously, this is a hot button issue with somebody running around town. What authority are we giving them outside of just recommending to you? Do they actually have the power to cite?
Yeah, I mean, they're official code enforcement officers, correct? So before they would write a citation, they would consult with us. We would make sure that it's the right path to take, without a doubt. So they're going to be working through us, and they have their own software, and so they track everything, and then they will share that with us, along with like their plan review software. They have their setup, but it'll integrate with ours as well. So they'll be running everything through us before they issue, citations and whatnot.
It says in Exhibit B, they've got that we're supposed to provide them with a list of things. I guess that's just part of their contract, or are we actually spending money for
No,
these items?
we will provide. I mean, we're going to provide them with the network and a desk and them to come in for that 8 hours once a week, and that's about it.
So they're taking over the permit process. So if
They're-
someone's to apply for a permit, they go through.
They come here,
Yeah.
make application here, then it's sent, they take it from there.
Yeah, so they'll do all the review process of a permit, and then
Any permit?
Yes, and then the town. will-
Even the small permits, like
Yes.
hot water heaters and stuff like that?
Yes.
I mean, or can we do that internally still?
We potentially, we'll look at that. And like I said, we're meeting with them this week to kind of define all that as well.
Yeah,
So-
there's a lot of stuff.
So this, we're at a quick turnaround on this, and so we're going to work through it before we just cut them loose.
Okay.
So,
And council, if you're not comfortable with this month, I mean, we can push it to next month. This is not was something we have to do today if you have an uncomfortable level. If you got more questions.
Well, let me
So-
jump in here right quick. When I read this, I was highly concerned we'd become a citywide HOA kind of thing. I've been involved with Flower Mound before and some other issues down the road in Plano. And my concern was right off the get-go was we sure didn't want to go that direction. I mean, where every time you turn around, you got somebody looking over your shoulder. You can't paint, if you don't paint your fence, if you do paint your fence or whatever. And I have been assured from Troy and others that this is not what we're looking for. They will only go by our direction. But yet when I heard that they have their own software and we're going to interface with them, well, all of a sudden now who's picking and choosing what we're going to enforce and what we're not going to enforce? And I want to be very cautious about this. And I think we need this person. I believe we need something. I don't know if we need the whole package, but I like the idea that we can terminate them in 30 days or we can pick and choose what we're going to do. I like that part of it, but I didn't want to give them carte blanche to come in here and take over. And all of a sudden, when you're dealing with other cities, if you get a clod of dirt in the road, you get a ticket, and all this baloney. We're not going to have that. So be assured of that. Okay.
Council comments anymore? Chase, how are you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's
You got great questions.
reviewable in 30 days, but, it sounds great that we're not going to truly, get after everybody,
Right.
but it very easily could go that way.
I mean,
Yeah, we'll manage it.
So,
you got to think about Mr. Finley's. Mr. Finley would have all kinds of citations if you had old tractors in the front, right? But that's fine. That's what we want. It's
Good.
just building the illegal buildings.
Well-
Is there a formal touch point that we're going to have after 30 days or a time certain to go over how that working relationship is having is
Yes, we
happening?
can report back as far as how that process is running and how we're going to move forward on that with them, certainly. And that's why we're scheduled to meet with them this week to run through expectations.
I think it's critical that maybe we have at the next meeting too, to have more of a feeling.
Yeah.
Of us.
I'd like to get a report, probably monthly, of
Yeah.
what they do come up with. So
Okay.
we can
Yeah.
feel that out.
I agree.
I think governance of this is important. I mean, obviously we need to have a tourniquet on the big issues that we want people driving around to see. But I think as it relates to water heaters and everything else,
Yeah.
I personally don't think we should spend money on that if we have an
Right.
internal process that's sufficient. That we can
I think
have.
we can still do, those
Certainly.
are non, Steve Coleman. can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
The big, the homes, it's all like, that's where we need to send it. This little stuff we don't need to send to them.
Right.
Mayor, I have something else to say tonight, a little bit about this illegal permits and building the church and different things. When people are going to do illegal and nefarious things, you can have 10 code enforcement officers, but they're still going to start the process sometimes. So that doesn't alleviate what can happen out here as neighbors. We can watch each, I don't mean we got to be a police state. That's not what I'm saying. But there's anyone better watching than your neighbor. I mean, if somebody building, hey guy, that's sure a nice building or something, you got a permit, something like this. But here's the deal. The barn down here, the guy wanted to build it. It didn't matter. But he's going to pay a fine, but he's still going to have to take part of it down. The church, they come in and addressed it and they ignored it. So you could have 5 code enforcement officers, but they would still start it. So when you start something, they want to do that out of code. That's the bottom line. So we need somebody here, a code enforcement officer. Like I said, I don't know, we need a HOA type guy, but we need something to lean back on and help us in these situations. I really believe that. So I think we're on the right path here. I think we're just kind of feeling our way through this. And I appreciate you, Chase, what you're saying there about all this. But we want to be cautious, but we want to be prudent with our money and with our stewardship of the town's safeguarding the illegal process. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, I entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion we approve, sir.
I have a motion by Councilmember Andrews. Was there a second? No.
Now second it.
Okay, I have a second by Councilmember Lieber. All in favor to approve?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. I wasn't sure. Unanimous motion carries. All right, we'll save the last for the best for the last. Next item is discussion, consideration, taking action regarding storm drainage system maintenance agreement between the town of Copper Canyon and MR Properties and Development LLC. The town engineer and the town attorney review these agreements. I've had 2 or 3 discussions today with various people. The next step will be the final plat when this goes through. If it gets passed, that they make application for P&Z. There's questions on it, and I know. Chris, can you kind of tell us where we're at with it? As far as how you got to where we're at, and I know you met with Bob, with the attorney.
Yes, sir. So the agreement is based on maintenance of the detention pond that currently is basically a stock pond on the property. There have been several back and forth discussions in terms of what is considered reasonable maintenance on the property. There's MS4 guidelines. There's other guidelines for what is required. The agreement as presented, if you look under section 2.01, really focuses on the maintenance piece of that. That's on page 2. And some of the key takeaways are letter D, which requires that a licensed professional engineer or other certified inspector come and inspect the pond at least on an annual basis and provide recommendations for the maintenance. And so there is a minimum, and that's a minimum requirement. If there is any issues that they find, they will be required to mediate those, whether that's dredging or, stabilization or some level of requirement.
So is certified professional, just go back to code enforcement, is that something that they would do also, or is that something, or do you have to be certified more so as an engineer to do this?
Yeah.
Dead plants and stuff like that, you don't need to be an engineer to see that.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, and so as written, it is a professional engineer or certified professional. Now, the certified professional
or certified
would be,
professional.
yeah, exactly,
Okay.
would be someone who is qualified, whether
Okay.
that be an arborist or someone that's qualified to make those
Okay, gotcha.
inspections.
Arborist, like, okay. Those who have the right to seek and force any of them. Okay, so the third party agreement here, this has always been discussed as a third party agreement. The town of Copper Canyon is party 1. MR Properties and Development LLC, that's one other person. That's not 2. That's one other person. MR Development, that's the owner. The third party part of this would be the HOA eventually. Okay, is that correct? So once the development's done, the HOA would then accept the responsibility of their part of this.
Right, for their
So
maintenance.
it would be a grantee or a trustee or assignment to them.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. Typically, no, but yes, please come up here because this is, I would allow that. Yeah.
Sorry, just curious.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Jeff Hubbard, 400 Clark Court. I just want to know who chooses the professional engineer?
Well, we would have our professional engineer.
Okay, so your professional
Yes.
engineer would actually go out?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah, yes, yeah. Yeah, the town is the enforcement of it, so it's not them, it's us. We have no ownership of it. But our engineer would be doing the inspection, or our certified person, whoever that is.
Would that be once a year?
That would be an annual.
So
Or the town can act, and when you read the agreement, we can go anytime we want to.
If they have a call
if we have a call, there's a complaint, we can go on the property and make an inspection.
Yeah, we can do that. And going back to that section D, if they provided documentation showing that they had a certified engineer do an assessment and he put his stamp on it, then we would review it as the town
Okay.
as well.
So for things that don't require the engineer, like there's a lot of criteria, there's a lot of conditions. Who hires the arborist, for example? Is that the town?
So my understanding is that the owner, in this case, the owner, which would be who's ever regulating the HOA or the property, would be responsible for hiring and getting that maintenance provided, doing the inspection.
But our engineering would be doing the inspection.
So clarification, I think where we're going with this, Steve, to answer your question, I think if we got a complaint from a resident saying that the pond is overgrown, you have moss from one end to the other, we would go out there as our engineer, and we would inspect that. We would tell the HOA, have you done your annual inspection? Because based on the agreement, that pond has not been maintained. And then we would execute the ability to get them to maintain that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just see this getting lost in the system somewhere with one pond. That's all, this agreement was required by the city attorney for this, and rightfully so. But this is going to be difficult to maintain enforcement
Right.
at some point. I just see it, I feel it getting lost down the road, but we kind of need to do this to get this off our table and move it forward. There's no other, it's up to the town now to be diligent in maintaining the inspections or the
If
process.
the property owner sells his property to someone else, does this agreement follow?
That's an assignment.
That's what I'm going to do. I thought that, but I want to make sure we're on the same page here.
It will be assigned to
That's what
trustee. There are several. I don't know where it's all at here.
I'm saying.
Yeah, it's all here to be assigned. All right, council. Take a shot at a motion to approve if there's not any other discussion.
I make a motion, we approve it as stated here, sir.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Andrews to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Leader. All in favor to approve?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous motion carries to approve. Next place for this is back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for final plat. Any other item to be on the next agenda? Hearing none, time being.
Mayor, real quick, I just want to give a quick reminder. Our first meeting in October is Columbus Day, and that's an official holiday for us. So we're going to push that meeting back to the second meeting scheduled. So I just want to make sure you guys had that on your calendar in advance.
The end of October.
Yes, that's correct.
And we have 2 meetings in September
Yes,
for the budget purposes. Is that correct?
that is
Yes.
correct.
What were those dates in September?
The 9th.
9th and 20th.
That's the second and fourth. Monday, second, and fourth, okay.
Wisely enough, time being 7:53, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion by the Mayor Pro Tem, second
Second.
by Councilmember Leaver to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I need to button up.